Committee meeting on February 8th, 2018 at 7:28 p.m. I'd like to ask that you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Pleasure of the committee. Mr. Denon makes a motion to approve the agenda. Second by Mrs. Goggin. All in favor? Aye. Ayes have it, 7-0. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Approval of minutes for the regular meeting 1/11/2018. Approval of minutes for the executive session 1/11/2018. Enrollment report of 2/1/2018. Thank you, Mr. Fiorillo. School police report 1/1/2018 in the residency truancy report of 2/1/2018. Pleasure of the committee. Mrs. Friedman makes a motion to approve the consent agenda. Do I have a second? A second by Mr. Hess. All in favor? Aye. Ayes have it, 7-0. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the report out of executive session meeting. That was this evening, 2/8/2018. There was no executive session vote, but there was a vote to seal the minutes of executive session. Pleasure of the committee. Mr. Denon makes a motion to seal the minutes of the executive session. Do I have a second? Second by Mrs. Goggin and Mr. Fiorillo. All in favor? Ayes have it, 7-0. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, we'll slow it down a little bit. Mr. Mitchell, Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everyone. And let me first of all apologize for making you all wait a little longer than expected. But we have some people that we would like to recognize, Mr. Chairman. And is Joyce Neves here? Oh, great. Okay. If you could join me down at the podium, Mr. Chairman, I'd appreciate it. Let's turn this around, so forgive us for having our backs to you, school committee members. Good evening, everyone. I need to get organized here a little bit, but Joyce Neves is here to recognize some students for some fine work, and this is connected to the Lions Club. Is that correct? Okay, so would you come to the podium and recognize these students for their good work?
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell, and the chairman of the school committee, and the other members of the school committee. And excuse my back, please. Lions Club International sponsors a peace poster contest every year for middle school students ages 11 to 13. The Cumberland Lions has participated every year for at least the last 8 years. Thanks to the permission of the superintendent, the cooperation of middle school principals, and the middle school art teachers, we received quite a few student participants. The theme for this year's contest was the future of peace. From the Joseph J. McCourt Middle School, whose art teacher is Carolyn Dooley, the student winner was Brianna Landry. Could I have Brianna come up, please? Okay, all right. Okay, superintendent.
Come on, and you should be in this also.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you want to put your stuff down to get organized over here?
So, Brianna, you've got a few other things that are coming to you, okay? We actually have her real poster here. The posters were displayed in the Cumberland Library thanks to our Peace Poster Chairman, Aaron Kutu. He displayed them in December in the Cumberland Library. So we actually have her real poster, which was submitted to the district level. And we also have a picture of her poster. And from the district, I have several awards. Okay. Let's get the awards out of the way. This is from because you were a district representative of our club, Brianna, this is from the District 42 Lions, Peace Poster Contest, Future of Peace, Certificate of Participation presented to Brianna Landry, signed by Nancy Phillips, and the chair of the Peace Poster Contest, Robert Valcourt, and I'm supposed to have signed it too, but he put them in the frames before I signed it. So I wasn't unable to sign it. So this is it for you. Okay. Bob Valcourt also does this every year. It's really, really nice. He does a T-shirt with their poster on it. So I don't know if you want to take it out of the bag, Brianna, to show that. And he does this for all of the participants that go to the district level. You would. And from the Cumberland Club, we have a certificate achievement award presented to Brianna Landry for winning the local competition in the Lions International Peace Poster Contest, signed by myself and your principal, Dr. Masterson. Signed it this evening. We have a picture of your poster, which was in the library because your real poster was at the district level at the time. And we also have a little monetary donation for you from the Cumberland Club. Sure. So she is from the North Cumberland Middle School. No, McCourt Middle School. I'm sorry. Got confused. From North Cumberland Middle School, our winner was Manal Fahim. So Manal, could you come up, please? Yep. Okay. Now, I got the pleasure of meeting Manal last week. She came to our District 42 Midwinter Conference because her poster was so beautiful, it won at the district level. It has gone on to international level, and we are keeping our fingers crossed. We hope that by the end of February, we'll hear how she made out at international level. So we're keeping our fingers crossed. This is a picture of what her poster looked like. This is what was shown in the library when the posters were posted in the library. And from our club, you got your district awards last week. From our club, we have a certificate for you and a little monetary donation also. So congratulations, Manal. Thank you. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to have Carolyn Dooley come on up to the podium, please. Carolyn. Carolyn, as you all know, is an art teacher at McCourt Middle School, and she has some information regarding the Rhode Island Art Educators Association Youth Art Month flag winner, and she has a presentation to make.
So if we can invite Sue Kalinda. Sue is the Rhode Island Art Ed Youth Art Month chair for the state, and she's also an art teacher over at Lincoln High School.
Thank you. So Youth Art Month is sponsored. Is sponsored nationally during the month of March, and it's sponsored by the National Council of the Arts. Rhode Island it's sponsored not only by Rhode Island Art Education Association, but also by Fidelity Investments. And every year, they will have a showcase in the end of March, which showcase a lot of Cumberland schools' work as well. But we also hold one of the premier things to kick off our Youth Art Month is we hold a postcard and flag art competition, and students throughout the state, every level, K through 12, are invited to submit artwork for part of that. And this year, Carolyn submitted artwork from McCourt, and the winner was chosen. And I have the flag. It's being made into a flag right now as we speak, and it will be displayed nationally in Seattle during the weekend of March 3rd, I think it is. And along with that artwork, so her flag will be there. And excuse me if I get her name wrong, but this is the winner of the flag competition. This is the winner statewide. And it was created by Carly Mernon. So Carly, if you want to come on up. Thank you so much. It was amazing, and this is your certificate. And you can hold on to this for a little while for pictures, but it will be displayed at Fidelity as well.
So you can stand in the middle.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So McCourt has established this year a National Junior Art Honor Society. And we have this great group of about 37 kids. And when we voted for officers, we ended up having an overwhelming amount of participation. So we now have co-presidents and co-vice presidents. And so we are going to introduce you to some of our leadership tonight. Evan Wolfenden, if you could come on up, is going to share a little bit about what he has done with the art club. And we also have Lexi Dawson, and she can explain her role in the National Junior Art Honor Society.
Good evening. I am Lexi Dawson, and I am co-vice president of the National Junior Art Honor Society at Joseph L. McCourt Middle School. I am standing in for Willow Gurdon, who is not here because she is sick with the flu. Together with Miss Julie and Miss Broadmeadow, we have established a new chapter of the National Junior Art Honor Society. To date, we have 37 members, and we appreciate Dr. Masterson for paying our membership fees.
Hi, I am Evan Wolfenden, co-president of National Junior Art Honor Society. Our chapter has worked with Art Club to create banners in celebration of Martin Luther King Jr. and African American History Month. We also have created displays to educate our school on mindfulness. In fact, our meetings are called to order with a mindful minute using a Tibetan singing bowl. We have about 75 members of our McCourt Art Club. It is free, open membership, and we meet every Thursday after school. We average about 35 students at every meeting. This is a special time to make art and be with our friends. We are such a big club that we work in the hall as well as the art studio. Would members of National Junior Art Honor Society please stand up and be recognized? Thank you. And Would members of Art Club please stand up and be recognized? Thank you.
We want you to know that March is Youth Art Month. We will have work displayed at Fidelity Investments in Smithfield and the Cumberland Town Hall. We hope that you will visit these locations to see the beautiful work our fellow students have created. Also, our National Junior Art Honor Society and Art Club has been raising funds to visit the Newport Art Museum and Atheneum. In May, thank you for giving us our time to share, and we appreciate your support of visual art. Have a good night.
Good job. All right, thank you very much, and have a wonderful evening.
Congratulations, you two. You did a really nice job with that. You want to take over for the rest of the night? Okay, just a few other really important things. You know, it's always nice for us to have an opportunity to recognize students for the good work that they're doing, but it's also nice for us to have an opportunity to recognize some of our teaching staff and support staff and administrators who are doing some really good work as well. And so the next item on the agenda provides me an opportunity to recognize 3 teachers. Unfortunately, 2 of them could not be here this evening. We all know that there's a lot of flu going around, and I know that at least one of them has been sick with the flu. But we do have Mike Ferrocci here. Mike, you want to come up, please? Lauren Scotto, you all know Mr. Ferrocci. He is the music director, teaches band at the high school. Michael, nice to see you. You know, Mr. Salvatore. Okay, so this is really nice because this is something that you have to be nominated for. And Janita Ducharme, Lauren Scotto, and Mike Ferrocci have been recognized as Life Changers of the Year nominees. So let me provide a little information about what a life changer is. And first of all, they have to be nominated. And so in addition to being nominated, whoever makes the nomination provides some really nice information about the person that they're nominating. And if I can just find it in a second, I'll share what has been said about Mr. Ferrocci. But let me just provide a little information about Life Changer of the Year nominee. And any one of these 3 individuals could be the National Life Changer of the Year winner. So, just to give you some idea what it's about, the National Life Changer of the Year Selection Committee, which is comprised of past life changers of the year and higher education professionals, they review nominations and they select winners from different schools across the United States. To be considered for a Life Changer of the Year award, nominees must make a positive impact in the lives of students, enhance their school or district's atmosphere, culture, and pride, demonstrate exemplary leadership at the school and/or district level, possess a proven record of professional excellence, show commitment to building a nurturing environment that supports learning, adhere to the highest moral and ethical standards. So this is how it works. To qualify for Life Changer of the Year, nominees must be a K-12 educator, teacher, administrator, or any member of the staff that makes a positive difference in the lives of students. Life Changer of the Year awards are granted without regard to race, gender, religion, age, national origin, sexual orientation, or disability. So this is an incredibly positive thing, and what I'd like to do is just bear with me because I need, hopefully I have it with me, but I wanted to just share a few things, few of the nice things that were said about each of the nominees from Cumberland High School for Mr. Ferrocci. This is just, and there are several pages, by the way, of not only do we get to see the nice things that were said in the application, the nomination form, but students and current students, former students also have an opportunity to add comments in support of the nominees. So this is let me just read this first paragraph about what the nominee said about, or the person who nominated Mr. Ferrocci said about him. Mr. Ferrocci has been a devoted band director at Cumberland High School for 5 years. In that time, he has led the band with pure dedication and a passion that has manifested in the band rising from a good rating at recent years' RIMIA band festivals to an excellent rating this past spring. This spring, at the Music in the Parks Festival in Cleveland, Ohio, the band earned the rating of superior. Mr. Ferrocci leads his musicians and with consistent and positive reinforcement, encouraging them always to strive to reach higher, perform stronger, practice harder, and mentor the young musicians. This goes on and on and on. I think you all, can get a feel for why Mr. Ferrocci was nominated. He spends a tremendous amount of time with members of the band for years. Literally, they come in as freshmen usually and stay, for 4 years because they love music and they enjoy being a part of this. So, on behalf of the school committee, congratulations, Mr. Ferrocci, for being nominated for a prestigious thing. I think I have something. I think I have something for you. A nice little certificate, which is always nice to receive. Congratulations, Mike. Okay, so just very quickly, you can sit down. You don't have to. Just very quickly, Lauren Scotto is an art teacher in the high school, and unfortunately, she's been sick with the flu, like many people have. Teaching, like art, takes a vision, patience, and practice. Ms. Scotto believes that art is a learned skill, not an inherited one. She draws inspiration from her surroundings and from her belief in every child that steps into the classroom. She is a passionate artist and educator. What makes Ms. Scotto stand out from the rest is that she gives you time. Former students told this nominator that Ms. Scotto is an incredible listener. And again, this is one of those things, this nomination goes on and on and on, but that's just a brief summary of what the person making the nomination wrote about her. And last but not least, we all know Janita Ducharme, who has done an outstanding job leading the chorus at Cumberland High School. And this is a quote, and I think this summarizes Janita. I have this urge to show people that there is love in the world, especially when they're surrounded by nothing but loss or hate. This is a philosophy that Ms. Ducharme has fulfilled every day at Cumberland High School. Going into her fifth year at CHS, she has rebuilt the music department where she teaches choirs and music theory and is the advisor of the Tri-M Music Honor Society. In a town dominated by sports, Ms. Ducharme is breaking new ground as an academic leader in the music department. She is branching out into the community, bringing music to new locations within the town. She hosts annual choir performances at a local theater, and her choirs attend all chorus nights to inspire younger students and allow the community to witness talented musicians in this area. And again, this nomination goes on, but I just wanted to give you a brief summary of the nice things that were said. And, I mean, when you think about it, regardless of the profession that you're in, and I think especially being an educator, I think the single biggest reason that we all are educators is because we want to make a difference in the lives of the students that we work with. I think that 99.9% of us would say that that's why we decided to do what we are doing professionally. And I can think of nothing more noble and anything more inspirational as an educator than knowing that you have had a profound impact on the lives of your students. So congratulations to you, Michael, and congratulations to Janita and Lauren for having the impact that they've had on their students. Okay, so I have just one more award that we need to recognize. And so, Mrs. Carbonic, can you come up with your team, please? Oh, your team is being shy? Okay, so you all know Mrs. Carbonic, and she'll introduce the members of her team, and she and Mr. Field have a brief presentation that they want to share with you. But do you all know what PBIS is, right? Positive Behavior Intervention and Supports. Ashton School has been recognized for the outstanding work that they have done in this area by the Sherlock Center on Disabilities at Rhode Island College. So just to give you a quick summary of how impressive this is, I believe only 3 schools in the state have been recognized for the outstanding work that they're doing with PBIS, and Ashton Elementary School was one of them. In fact, I don't think this is the first year. I think you've been recognized before. Is that correct? So I just think it's outstanding that one of our 8 schools in the district has been recognized for the good work that they're doing in this particular area, to the point where there's this, and in fact, I actually have copies up at the dais, and I'll make sure that I get them down here so that you all can see for yourself that Ashton School has been recognized in this annual report. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mrs. Carbonic and Mr. Field.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell, and thank you, school committee members. It is an honor to be recognized by the state as one of the 3 top schools on PBIS, but it's also an honor to be here and be recognized by our district and our school superintendent. So thank you so much for inviting us. This is a team effort. Once we learned about PBIS, it just makes sense to do it, and once you do it, you can't go back. But it's something that definitely needs to be adopted school-wide, and that has been embraced by the faculty at Ashton School to the degree that is part of our culture. It is part of who we are now. And so as a team, I want to recognize the teachers that are here that are part of the school. Thank you so much for all of your hard work and for embracing this initiative. And of course, our trainer, Mr. Field, that has been doing a wonderful job for many years, bringing the initiative not only to Ashton, but throughout all of the district. It has made a big difference for our students. We're also an MTSS school, which is a multi-tier system of supports, also trained by the Sherlock Center in combining PBIS is the behavior component of supporting our students behaviorally and emotionally, as well as socially. The RTI process is the academic process that supports students academically. The MTSS process is combining those 2 systems together so that we have the best available supports for our students, and we're supporting the whole child. So we're very much about supporting children in all areas, and we're always looking to improve. So PBIS and MTSS just made sense to us for us to do it, and it is wonderful to be recognized for all the work that we're doing. Here tonight we have Mrs. McCaffrey, who is a 4th grade teacher. She's also part of the Universal team. Mrs. Mora, 5th grade teacher at Ashton. Mrs. Lackland, and then in the back, she's a 3rd grade teacher at Ashton School. Mr. Oliveira, he's a special educator, and Miss Classic, who's a 1st grade teacher at Ashton School. and Mr. Phil, our trainer, who has done a little presentation for us to kind of share with you what MTSS and PBIS is like in the schools. Thank you.
I'm not used to using a microphone. Most of the time my voice is loud enough, but for the people that are watching, I'll make sure I speak into the microphone. So I'm very proud of our whole district. I think when we talk at a state PBIS level, Cumberland is recognized across the state as one of the leaders in the PBIS initiative. So I am proud of all of our schools. Ashton is special to me, obviously, because I worked there as a kindergarten, first grade special education teacher for 10 years before taking on this role for the last 9 or 10. I'm starting to lose track. It's a great school, and they are really doing everything that you ask in that PBIS initiative. So I wanted to kind of just describe what that is, because sometimes they hear, you know, PBIS, positive behavior interventions and support, but we don't get a chance to really talk about what that really is. So just a brief kind of summary. It's a framework for improving the culture and climate, safety, and learning for all students. And so that's kind of our like catchphrase, and we know that academics is directly affected by if our social, emotional, and behavioral systems are in place. So they have a direct correlation. So what we're ideally looking for is we're looking for a common mission between all of our staff members, so that kids will have will hear common language, will have a common experience and a common vision when they come to school, and try in the district to get all adults on the same page so that kids experience that. You know, initially is tough, so that's why we put specific systems into place so that we have consistency across the board. And we know that consistency will help improve our overall behavior. We kind of break it down into 3 different levels. So if I go back to our first slide, you kind of see that green, yellow, red. And so the green is basically things that we do for all students. The yellow is things that we do for some students that may be at risk. And then the red is things that we do for a few students that may need some intensive or individualized supports. So when we break down our systems in the green, you can see universal systems. The number one thing that we're trying to do in our schools is we're trying to build connections and relationships with our students. We're trying to clearly define expectations. So if you come in any of our buildings, you'll see the signs that are up in the hallway, in the cafeteria, in the classrooms, so that everybody's using the same language and we know what the expectations are across the board. But more than just putting up the signs, we're talking that language throughout the day, so you have a common message. If a student makes a mistake and is rushing in the hall and running down the hall, any adult will politely stop them and introduce themselves and say, oh, remember, when we're in the hallway, we need to walk calm, straight, and quiet. And then they'll go back with them and they'll have them practice that in a respectful way. So that common message of that and defining those expectations is important. We teach those expectations throughout the year to the students, and teaching and modeling is really one of our most influential tools. We want to make sure that we respond consistently to unexpected behavior. So when there is a behavior that needs to be corrected, we have a similar response to students, and our best consequence is reteaching. We have an acknowledgement system that's set up in our school so we're acknowledging students when they do follow expectations so that we can encourage that behavior to come back. We're constantly working on our classroom management supports because things are difficult in the classroom these days, and there's a lot of information that we're trying to do, and we're trying to keep the focus and attention of our little ones for a long period of time. So we're constantly working on things to support classroom management. We are working with our family involvement and communication and trying to share that information with parents on a regular basis. And then we analyze how things are going, and we look at our data at monthly meetings, and then we make adjustments to our systems as necessary. For some students, all of those universal supports are not enough, so they need a little bit more. So if some of our students are at risk, some of the things that we'll do is we'll increase our connections and relationships with them. We'll teach specific skills. So if kids are having trouble controlling or expressing their emotions, we'll give them some specific lessons in that with our school counselors, with our school psychologists, or other professionals in the building. We increase our acknowledgments for some of those new skills that we're trying to teach. We add visual supports, movement and sensory activities, and for some kids we do a daily report card, and one of our biggest interventions is called Check and Check Out, where we check in with the student at the beginning of the day, at the end of the day, and then each period throughout the day, and give them a score on how they're doing. But that score is really a chance to give them feedback on specific goals. And then For some kids, they'll need more than just our universal supports or our Tier 2 supports, and they'll need some of our Tier 3 supports. And for those kids, we're really looking specifically at them as an individual, making sure that we're doing those universal things with fidelity, and then we kind of think about the functional perspective on why behavior is happening, and we'll create an FBA or a behavior intervention plan for those kids. And for some of our kids, we'll even put some safety plans into place. So that's a kind of a summary of the 3 tiers. From a national level, if you kind of see the 3 different things, the way that we kind of evaluate how we're doing, and this is really why one of the reasons Ashton was acknowledged, is that at the end of a school year, you should look at your behavior data. And we collect behavior data on students, and a major incident would be something that would be a major disruption of learning or something that might be considered unsafe, and we document those behaviors on a form consistently across the district. We hope at the end of the school year that most students will have 0 or 1 major referrals. And if you have 0 or 1 major referrals, you're considered responding to our universal supports. And we hope that 80 to 90% of our students at the end of the year will fall in that green category. We know that we're never going to have everybody in that green category, but our hope is to have 80 to 90%. Some students are going to fall into that at-risk category, which means they'll have 2, 3, 4, or 5 major referrals. And we hope that by the end of the school year, we'll have less than 10% in that category. And then those students that may fall into that red area needing some individualized interventions, we hope will be 5% or less. And that would be if you have 6 referrals or more. So when we look at, it's a lot to look at here, but when we look at Ashton over a 5-year period, you can see ideally we want 80 to 90% of our students in that green area. In each of those 5 years in the past, we fall within those categories. In all 3 categories, we're meeting the criteria. And so that is really an attribution to the staff for really working consistently on all of those things that we talked about from a universal standpoint. And so the majority of our kids are responding to what we're doing with them to create a positive culture climate and make a safe learning environment for all students. And then as Nydia had mentioned, our end-all goal, which we're working at now, when we first started 10 years ago, we were looking at social, emotional, behavioral components in one area and our academics in another. And now, especially when we work with our students that are in those Tier 2 or Tier 3 supports, when I go back to those kids that are in that yellow or the red, we really want to make sure that we're looking at the whole child. And so we're looking not only at their social, emotional, and behavioral concerns, but also looking at their academics. And then together we have a team that meets weekly to discuss those children so that we can put interventions into place and kind of curb their trajectory in a better way. So MTMS, multi-tiered systems of support, is exactly that. It's taking the PBIS, positive behavioral piece, and taking the RTI, academic piece, and putting them together so that we're looking at the whole child when we're discussing them. So really proud of Ashton and our whole district, and it's a great team over there. I worked there for many years, and when you walk in the school, to me the most important thing is that you feel the culture and climate, and when I walk into that school, you feel welcomed. The kids smile at you, they say hi to you, they're polite to you, and it's just it's a wonderful atmosphere to be in. So very, very happy for this team right here. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Fields, excellent update. Thank you very much. Always a pleasure to see you. Community members as well. Ashton members as well. Thank you for coming in, Nydia. Mr. Mitchell?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, just very quickly, couple of things. And I don't want to embarrass him, but Jim Field is as highly skilled in what he does as any person I've ever seen. Like, he's just one of those individuals who knows how to respond in situations where, a student may be acting inappropriately. He just is masterful at knowing what to say to respond to given situations, how to diffuse given situations. We're one of the reasons why we're recognized in the state and beyond for our work in PBIS has a lot to do with him. So thank you for the good work, Jim, that you do. And I also, and I would be remiss, I need to take this opportunity since Talia Classic is here. She was nominated by her colleagues for a Crystal Apple Award. And for those of us in the profession, being a classroom teacher is incredibly difficult, and it's one of those things that you really can't fully appreciate how hard it is until you're in it. Imagine standing in front of 23 kids all day, every day, and having an impact on their learning, which profoundly impacts their lives. And to be recognized by colleagues for the good work that you're doing, I think is impressive and should be recognized. And the reason I'm doing this is because I could not go to Ashton yesterday when they had a little ceremony to recognize Talia, and I just wanted to take the time to recognize her this evening. Can you just stand up, please? Congratulations to you. And, you know, one of the things that I don't think most people understand, and I think it's important that I mention it, it's been my experience that the best teachers, not only do they spend a tremendous amount of time standing in front of those kids teaching them lessons every day, but they also spend a tremendous amount of time planning. So people have no idea how much time, it's almost like you spend as much time planning as you do standing in front of those students every day. So I just think it's important for us to acknowledge that, and congratulations to you, Talia, for being recognized. Yes, Mrs. Carbonic, well, I guess so. No, it's okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Excellent update. Next item on the agenda is Chairperson's Report, Fiscal Year 2018 Budget Update. At this time, I have no new update. Next item on the agenda is reports of standing committees. Payment of bills. Mr. DeMonica.
Chairman, the fiscal did meet and reviewed the check registers, and on a 3-0 vote, I would move approval tonight. Payment of the bills in the amount of $891,926.08. And I make that in a motion.
Mr. DeMonica makes a motion for the payment of bills in the amount of $891,926.08. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Fiorillo. All in favor? Ayes have it, 7-0. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. DeMonica. Next item on the agenda, Fiscal Management Subcommittee Update. Mr. DeMonica.
Mr. Chairman, tonight we had a good discussion with our healthcare consultants in regards to implementing the HSA account if we go that route with our unions and administrators. And they brought in some information in regards from what Blue Cross has estimated what it would be, and an actual actuary company that did it for us as well. So we've got some numbers to talk about in the future here and see where we want to go. But the savings that they're estimating, it could be a $300,000 swing to the good or a $300,000 swing to the bad. And so it's something we need to look at. It's the savings that the mayor thought we would get are nowhere near than what we're actually getting. So it's something we will look at. And we did talk about buying a tractor for the school system to do sweeping, snow plowing, grass cutting, etc. And that got tabled to our next meeting, and that was it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DeMonica. Good update. Next item on the agenda, Policy and Procedures Subcommittee Update. Mr. Fiorillo.
Sorry to say that Policy and Procedures did not meet this week. We will meet in 2 weeks with a very full agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Fiorillo. Next item on the agenda, Achievement and Communications Subcommittee Update. Mr. Denon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Achievement and Communications Subcommittee met a couple weeks ago, back in late January, and the topic was an update from the middle schools. And we had Dr. Masterson and Mrs. Coughlin give presentations and lead a discussion about some of the changes that have taken place in the middle schools. It was basically an update to something we had done, I think, in August or September. One of the big topics was the schedule change that's occurred at the middle schools. And the positive impact it's having on students. It's providing more instruction time in the 4 core subjects, and it's just having great results. I think, as Dr. Masterson said, his teachers are protecting that time. They want to use that time for instruction. I think Mrs. Coughlin said some of her teachers called this is the best year yet, that they instruction-wise, because of this time, or in part because of this. We talked about all sorts of things related to the middle school, including, I don't know if you remember, we purchased books for the 6th graders for the American Reading Corporation, is that what it is? Company. And the impact that that's having, and it's improving STAR assessments, especially at McCourt. They're seeing great gains from that. So that was really great to hear. Another thing we heard about at McCourt is an initiative to improve attendance and to keep track of attendance and to make everyone aware of how important attendance is. And also, great work there. And finally, there's a world language exploration program for 6th graders, which is, I think has started already or will start soon. And it's to give them a little entrance, a little taste of the foreign languages they will take in 7th and 8th grade and beyond, to help them choose between the languages that we offer. I know I said finally, but I do want to add, we talked a little bit about budget requests, so we all know that we're entering budget season. So it's good to hear from the principals about what they need in their schools. And we're going to hear more about that when we talk about the budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Denon. Excellent update. Next item on the agenda, comments from the public. Anyone, please step up to the microphone, state your name. Welcome.
My name is Joe Vella. I live in Cumberland. Back when I used to work in corporate America, the norm when somebody was laid off was to give the person 1 week's salary for every year of employment. Here, I read in the newspaper last week that our previous principal got somewhere in the order of $52,000 for severance pay. And I understand that she left of her own volition. Can somebody please explain how that happened and why that happened?
Mr. Vella, so the venue of the school committee is when you come up for public comment, we do not need to respond, but yet we can hear what you would like to say.
So that's our tax money, and we chose not to respond?
Well, our attorney can explain to you what the procedure is in regards to public comment.
So essentially, Mr. Bella, the public comment section of the public meeting is an opportunity for the public to do exactly what you're doing. But this is the school committee's meeting, and so you are a member of the public at that meeting. So have at it. You can ask or say whatever you want, but it's not necessarily a dialogue. It's just an opportunity for the public to give comment.
Okay, so as a taxpayer, you correct me if I'm wrong, but somewhere in the order of 70-72% of our taxes go to the schools. So my question is, who do I talk to? How do I get an answer to that question? Who do I speak to? Whether it be, do I write a letter? How do I do that?
So, Mr. Vela, so I'm not looking to go back and forth with you. I'd rather you maybe reach out to central administration, maybe the superintendent's department, and maybe they can guide you in that type of direction. But if you'd like anything else to say, please feel free to say it.
Oh, I want to be told where to go for this to get this answer. That's all. And I figured I'd go to you guys. You're the school committee.
You can, Mr. Vela, you can also contact your school committee member
Okay.
in your district as well. I'm not sure what district that you're in.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else, public comment? Next item on the agenda, new business. Vote on teacher non-renewal dismissal recommendations. Mrs. Fogel.
Good evening. So it's that time of year again where we have that March 1st deadline pursuant to state law. And so we have made, the administration has made a recommendation to non-renew 59 non-tenured teachers, and we would ask that you support that recommendation.
Thank you, Mrs. Fogel. Mrs. Fogel, I'd like someone to pleasure the committee. Mrs. Goggin makes a motion to vote to approve the teacher non-renewal dismissal recommendations. Do I have a second? Second by Mrs. Friedman. All in favor? Ayes have it, 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Fogel. Next item on the agenda, discussion and/or vote to approve resolutions. Mr. Demotic, I believe both of these have been tabled, SCPR 2018-02.
That has been tabled to the next meeting, and there was no action taken on number 3 since we don't have all the information yet.
The SCPR 2018-03 purchase of student van tabled as well.
Correct.
Thank you, Mr. Demotica. Next item on the agenda, discussion and/or vote to approve homeschool instruction requests for the 2017-18 school year. Mr. Mitchell.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend approval.
Mr. Mitchell recommends approval of discussion or vote of the homeschool instruction. Do I have a pleasure of the committee? Mr. Denon makes a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Fiorillo. All in favor? Ayes have it, 7-0. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, personnel recommendations. A, vote on resignation and separation agreement with high school principal. Mrs. Fogel.
So, Mrs. Fogel's going to be seeking the advice and consent of the school committee on a bunch of personnel matters. One of the matters is whether the school committee is going to accept the resignation and separation agreement of Donna Charlton, the Cumberland High School principal. The school committee thought it would be appropriate for me as legal counsel to put the matter in perspective. In December, based on the information that was available, the central office administration, the school committee, and Ms. Charlton determined that the best way forward for both the high school and for her personally was for the committee to accept her resignation as high school principal. School committee members have received many questions about Ms. Charlton's resignation. The law limits the information that the school committee is permitted to provide concerning any personnel matter, including this one. However, the school committee has provided or is in the process of providing all information that it is legally permitted to provide under the Access to Public Records Act with respect to Ms. Charlton's employment. This includes all salary information paid to Ms. Charlton and her employment contract. The separation agreement itself, on which the committee is going to vote this evening, is not a public record under the APRA, so the committee is not permitted to disclose it under a legal case called the Henley case, in which the Attorney General prohibited a school committee from disclosing this type of agreement. Although Ms. Charlton's resignation was the subject of a newspaper article in December, this meeting has been the committee's first opportunity to vote on the resignation and separation agreement since that matter was finalized. So that is what the school committee asked me to say. Ms. Fogel.
Do you want me to take it out of order and just do that one now?
I think it's first.
Oh, I'm sorry. It wasn't on my list, so I'm sorry. I apologize. All right, so I'll deal with resignations first. So I request the advice and consent of the school committee on the resignation and separation agreement of Donna Charlton, building administrator at Cumberland High School, effective December 22nd, 2017.
Thank you, Mrs. Fogel. Mrs. Fogel is, so pleasure of the committee on the Mrs. Fogel's request on the resignation and separation agreement with the high school principal.
Jim, make a motion, we approve.
Mr. Demotica makes a motion to approve the resignation and separation agreement with the high school principal. Do I have a second? Second. Second by Mr. Fiorillo. All in favor? Aye. Against? The chair votes against this. It passes 6-0. Thank you, Mrs. Fogel. I'm sorry, 6-1. I apologize.
I have one other resignation. I request the advice and consent of the school committee on the resignation of Flavia Malaya Baker, English language teacher at Cumberland High School, effective February 1st, 2018.
Thank you, Mrs. Fogel. Mrs. Fogel recommending passage. Pleasure of the committee. Mr. Denon makes a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Second. Second by Mr. Hess. All in favor? Ayes have it, 7-0.
I have 2 retirements. I request the advice and consent of the school committee on the retirement of Andrew Barry, school counselor at Cumberland High School, effective June 30th, 2018, after 9 years of service, and Renee DeRozier, business teacher at Cumberland High School, effective June 30th, 2018, after 21 years of service.
Thank you, Mrs. Fogel. Pleasure of the committee. Mr. Hess makes a motion to approve the retirement. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. DeMonica. All in favor? Ayes have it, 7-0.
I have 4 leave of absences for you. I request the advice and consent of the school committee on the FML leave of absence of Sabra Brannon, special educator at Cumberland Hill Elementary School, with an anticipated leave date of April 27, 2018, through the end of the 17-18 school year. Erica Coletti, grade 1 teacher at BF Norton Elementary School, with an anticipated leave date of February 26, 2018, through the end of the 17-18 school year. Melinda Spates, secondary science teacher at Cumberland High School, with a leave date of January 25th, 18, with an anticipated return date of May 14th, 2018. And finally, Corey Vogel, paraprofessional at North Cumberland Middle School, with an anticipated leave date of February 19th, 2018, through May 18th, 2018.
Thank you, Mrs. Fogel. So from what I count, 4 leave of absence requests?
That's correct.
Pleasure of the committee.
Make a motion to approve?
Mr. Dennett makes a motion to approve the 4 leave of absence. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Fiorillo and Mrs. Friedman. All in favor? Ayes have it, 6-0. Thank you.
Lastly, I have 4 appointments for you this evening. I request the advice and consent of the school committee on the appointment of Belkis Costels Desbralas, I just butchered her name, but secondary world language teacher in Spanish at Cumberland High School, with an effective date of January 29, 2018, through the end of the 17-18 school year. She's a full-time teacher, and she comes to us as Step 8. Heather Delfino, teaching and learning coach at Cumberland High School, effective January 16, 2018. Heather is a current employee. The addition for this is the prorated $7,000 stipend that goes along with the teaching and learning coach position. Erin Gardner, special educator of the Success Classroom, grades 3 to 5 at BF Norton Elementary School, with an effective date of February 12, 2018, through the end of the 17-18 school year. Erin is a Step 6. And lastly, Elise Hickey, secondary English/EL educator at Cumberland High School, with an effective date of February 7th, 2018, through the end of the 17-18 school year. Ms. Hickey comes to us as a Step 10.
Thank you, Mrs. Fogel. Mrs. Fogel, there's 4, correct?
Yes.
All right. Pleasure of the committee.
Motion to accept the 4 appointments.
Mr. Fiorillo makes a motion. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Denon. All in favor? Ayes have it, 6-0. Thank you, Mrs. Fogel.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, school committee comments, school liaison reports. Pleasure of the committee. Mr. Fiorillo.
With everything that's been going on at the high school, there's been a lot of talk in social media about the condition of what the high school must be going through, that it's in a death spiral, all kinds of outlandish remarks, quite honestly. I think it's a real slap in the face to the professionals that show up every day to work, do their job to the fullest of their capabilities. The high school is currently being headed by Mr. Damana, who, aside from being an assistant superintendent, is an accomplished building administrator. We have the administrative team that's also serving their roles. And this high school is running just fine. Teachers are still showing up to school every day. They are teaching the curriculum. Students are succeeding. Everything is really being dealt with. The school is in good hands and is under very capable leadership until we have a permanent replacement. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Mr. Fiorillo. Mr. Denon?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to add to that, that Mr. Damana has really stepped up, and I speak for many of us, I think all of us perhaps, but that we appreciate all the work he's doing. And he is, I'm sure he's putting in a lot of long hours, and the district is better for it as a result, is better as a result. Thank you.
Mr. Denon, I agree. I wish Mr. Damana was here, but he's homesick with the flu with a high fever. He texted me a little while ago. So, anyone else? Mrs. Friedman?
I guess I'm speaking on public record. You know, as a taxpayer and the parent of a 10th grader myself and an 8th grader, it is our responsibility to make the best decisions that we can for the school with the information that we have. And our focus now is making sure that we select the best next principal to lead Cumberland High School to where we know it can be and where it is. And so I want everyone to know that we're as every taxpayer and parent in this town. And it is our responsibility to help make the best decisions for this district. And our focus now is how do we move forward from this and give our schools and our administrators what they need.
Thank you, Mrs. Friedman. I would like to say, so I got a call today from House of Representatives Mia Ackerman, and she mentioned a House bill that is in right now. It is H6145, introduced by Representative McEntee, Crazen, Tanzi, Casamarito, and O'Brien. In relation, it authorizes the school committee to appoint one designee to the board of directors of the governing body of certain charter public schools which students from the district attend. So this would mean that we would have one representative from the school committee that would sit on any charter school that's in Cumberland. So this was heard, I want to say, in a type of, please don't quote me directly, but Mia sits on this board. I had it written down on another piece of paper, health and wellness, and if anybody can remember, I'd appreciate it. But health and wellness, yeah, that's what it is, Bill. Thank you. So she mentioned that, so I said I would mention it to the full school committee, that I think this is a positive move to have representation on the charter school when they have their meetings. Well, thank you. That's all I have for tonight. Anyone else? Just getting over the flu myself. Next item on the agenda. Oh, hold on. Mr. Fiorillo, Mr. Mitchell, do we have executive session?
No, we do not, Mr. Chairman.
Not. Mr. Fiorillo has a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Denon. All in favor? Ayes have it. 7-0. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good night.